Now that I have the base cabinet complete, I'm ready to add the storage carousel inside the cabinet and then the tool carousel on top of the cabinet. Both carousels are going to ride on these 1-inch roller bearings. If you can't find them at your local hardware store, a lot of times you can order them or you can find them online. But these will all be attached on the outside perimeter of the carousels. And it's not real critical on the location, but you do want them kind of evenly spaced so you get even support all the way around. So I took the time to lay out my center point and then the location of each roller bearing on the perimeter. Then both carousels are going to be centered on a piece of galvanized pipe going through the top and then being attached in the bottom of the cabinet with this flange. The one problem with using galvanized pipe is that it's kind of an odd diameter. This is about, for a 3/4 inch pipe, the outside diameter is about 1 1/16 inches, and that's kind of a hard drill bit to find. In the plans it says you can modify a 1 1/8 inch Forstner bit, file it down to 1 1/16. I'm not going to go to that trouble. I'm going to go ahead and drill a 1-inch hole here in the top, and then I've made a template block here where I drilled a 1-inch hole in this and then wallowed it out with a spindle sander until it fit the pipe perfectly. Template block has a pretty good fit here where it can still spin inside the hole, but it's not too sloppy where this is going to be kind of slopping around, the carousel is going to be slopping around on top as you're trying to work. There you go. You can see I have a perfectly sized hole for my pipe. Now I can go ahead and get my flange attached to the bottom and get the rollers installed in the bottom as well. Now that I have all of the hardware installed in the base cabinet, I'm ready to start building the carousels. And to do that, I'm going to have to cut a few circles. And if you're pretty good with the jigsaw, you could probably just lay out your circles and cut them to shape. I'm not that great with the jigsaw. I usually get a rough, wavy edge, and it's just a mess. So that's where I like to bring in my router and trammel. Now this shop-made trammel is just a piece of 1/4 inch hardboard, and I've screwed it to my router base. I'm using a straight bit to cut the outside edge, and then I just need to drill a hole corresponding with the radius of the circle I'm cutting. And remember when you're measuring to drill these holes that you're measuring from the inside edge of the bit and not from the center of the bit to the center of the pivot point. So to start out, I have cut my circle to rough shape with the jigsaw, staying about 1/8 inch outside the layout line. Then I can bring my trammel in. And remember when you're routing in a circle on the outside, you want to stay in a counterclockwise direction. If you try to go the other way, it's going to take you for a ride. There we go, a perfect circle. Now I just need to do a couple more of these and I'm ready to start building up the carousel. All right, to complete the bottom part of the carousel, I drilled my through hole for the center pipe and then added a collar block. And this is just to add a little bit more bearing surface as you're spinning it. And it's just easier to hone in on that fit on a small block than on this large piece. So the next step is to add a grid that's going to get sandwiched in between two circles. That's just to add some support and beefiness to hold all the tools. The construction of the grid consists of 4 parts that are all the same. They each have 2 slots cut in them that will mate into each other. To make these slots, I drilled 3/4 inch holes that are halfway between the width, and then I came back and cut out the waist with a jigsaw. So now that that's done, start assembling this. That's pretty good. Okay, I'm just going to attach this portion to the bottom with pocket screws, and I'm just doing that because it's easier than flipping it over and trying to get everything in position that way. Once I get this grid screwed into place, I'm going to bring in my base cabinet and use the center pipe to help align the top and bottom circles. Now, as I mentioned, I brought the base cabinet in with the center pipe so I can align both pieces. Had I just screwed the top on over on the sawhorses and it had been even slightly misaligned, it'd be pretty hard to get this entire assembly onto that pipe. So this, like I said, that's gonna help me align everything and make sure all my layout lines are good, and I can go ahead and attach this top. I'll screw it down, and then I can go ahead and work on the lower carousel. As you can see, I have the lower carousel already installed. It starts out as a round blank, much like the upper carousel. It's just a little bit smaller, but there are a few differences. This round blank has a wedge cut out of it, kind of a Pac-Man shape, and that's just to allow it to fit in this cutout here. There are a few differences. I've added an edging back here. It's made from 1/8" hardboard. If you try to use 1/4" hardboard, you might find out that it's too thick to make that curve and it's probably gonna snap. So if all you have is 1/4" hardboard, I'm not gonna judge you if you plane it down to 1/8 inch. So once you have the 1/8" hardboard cut to shape, you can just glue and screw it into place. The other thing you might notice is this aluminum angle iron that I've put on the front. It's just there for durability as it goes on and off those ball bearings over time. You don't want it to beat up the MDF, so that's just gonna help the wear and tear. I installed that by first cutting out most of the waste with a straight bit and a small router. And then I came back with a chisel and chiseled it until I got the aluminum angle iron to fit in place, and then just screwed it into place. The next thing is there's a barrel bolt in here. It just locks into a hole in a block there. That just keeps it from moving in and out when you don't want it to. So that completes the carousel and the lower base cabinet. I think the next thing is to add some storage into the upper carousel. As you can see, this wedge shape opening, they're great for, you know, throwing tools as you're working. But these square openings, I think those would be perfect for some drawers. So I'm going to work on that in the next video.
Woodsmithplans.com. Hundreds of professional, high-quality woodworking plans right at your fingertips. Every single plan is presented as an easy-to-download digital package that includes pages of step-by-step instructions, full-color photos, illustrations, and exploded views, retail sources for hardware and supplies, plus a cutting diagram and materials list. Many plans offer handy video overviews and guides. Plus, we're proud to offer our plans in both standard and metric. Everything is here, from gorgeous heirloom furniture projects to handy shop projects and upgrades, clever, cost-effective storage solutions, as well as weekend projects and accessories that are great for gifts, all fully searchable and categorized for easy browsing. Woodsmithplans.com, everything you need for building fine woodworking projects.